Bless you. Mm-hmm. There we go. 3D. Whatever. For me? Yep. So I did create a short tutorial, a quick start guide. It is under detail, I would say. I skip a lot of steps, but once you figure them out, it's pretty obvious. But step one, of course, you must install Cinemachine in Unity from the package manager. And I do say in the assignment that Cinemachine is only an option. There are many other ways of triggering cutscenes within Unity. You can brute force it with code. You can make the camera animations happen all at once. I've seen people do it where they just have one camera and it just kept jumping from place to place. However, Cinemachine does make things a little bit easier, especially when you want to switch between a scripted event and a gameplay event. Very handily blend between the two things, between your player character camera and then your cinematic camera. Manastor Pakashta, Cinemachine. By default, it looks for in project. You probably want to look for Unity registry. Cinemachine. Oh, good to read these things. A menu has moved. It is in the game object menu. Good to know. Okay. Step 2. We add virtual cameras. And I should say that you do not delete the main camera from your Unity scene. I haven't put it in here, as I said, a little bit underwritten. Your main camera acts as your cinema brain, in a way. So everything's filtering through there. So Cinemachine operates on top as an overlay with the main camera. Don't delete. And its symbol will probably change once we start using Cinemachine. Cinemachine. Couple of standards: virtual camera, free look, blend list camera, state driven camera, clear shot. The dolly camera with track, which I do want to look at because it's one of the more interesting ones. And a 2D camera. I'm just going to add a virtual camera, number 1, and you see straight away my symbol has changed for my main camera. It has now become the cinema brain. I'll just add 2 Cinemachine cameras to start with. Virtual camera. I need something to look at. I might need an asset to be brought in, just so I have something unique to look at. The texture. Oh, okay, but he's something to look at. Great. Oh, sure, green man. Okay, I have an object to look at. Where are my cameras? They're both here. I'm just going to move VCAM2, just so it's on the opposite side of them. Both of them are looking in the same place. We switch, it won't look like anything. So right now the cinema brain is pointing at VCam2 for me. I think it's probably just the last one I created. It's stuck as that is the main camera. In our properties, we can see a value called priority in both VCam1 and 2. Priority dictates which camera is active at the moment. Higher priority means the one is active. So on VCam1, which is on the opposite side, I give that a higher value. It's at 10. I add one more to 11. And nothing has happened. Wonderful. I love when these things happen. Ah, there we go. Now it is switching as I flop up and down on priority. So currently both are set to 5 with priority. I increase priority on VCam2 and it switches straight away. One way of controlling it. And since we know we have a number value that we can control to switch between cameras, that means we have a number to focus on in script. We can use the priority during scripting. I'm not going to make you write code. It is here. You can copy from the tutorial. I made it copyable. I'll just explain what the hell is going on. First off, of course, you must tell this script that it's using Cinemachine, just like with UI systems. You must use a using method at the top so it knows to access it. Oh yeah. Yeah. Anyway, a game object reference essentially, but it's called Cinemachine Virtual Camera, but they are just game objects that act like cameras. And then the variable name. Then that'll just be a slot that we can load in inside of the inspector, or let's use switch there. Start, we're running this command that's happening down here. And all it does is access the priority. Everything defaults to 5 until we press a key press to give that priority value. Alpha 1, Alpha 2, number 1, number 2 on the keyboard. Very simple little switch state here to just dip between priority. And then you could bind that to any number of key presses, anything to happen. You can bind that to a UI button as well to say, oh, stop this animation, come back to the main game. So for this to work, I need an empty and I need a script on it. I'll call it my camera controller. Cam switcher. Empty game object. Add component, new script. Cam switcher. Put our using reference at the top. Using Cinemachine. Go. Thank you. Thank you, Johnny Microsoft. References to our two camera objects. Make them public. Cinemachine camera. Oh, there's lots. Virtual camera, isn't it? Virtual camera. And we just do our key presses. Virtual camera cam. Yeah. Priority font size 10. And then just in the start method, we set a default so we have something to start with. Otherwise, null reference exception. Arg. So all that leaves for us is to assign our cameras in the inspector, and you could do a find, a search through to assign them dynamically, search by tag. And then we press number 1, it's going to switch to number 1, press number 2, it's going to interpolate to the next position. So by default, it's going to try and transition between the places rather than cut straight there. There, that's saved. Jump back to Unity. And on cam switcher, I should see these two slots. Looking for Cinemachine virtual cameras. I've got 2 of them. Number 1. Number 2. Now number 1, switch there. It's number 2, and it's going to transition to float behind him or back to in front of him. So it's automatically doing all the rotation, interpolation, it's animation basically between these 2 states. And you can interrupt halfway through. And we can add more cameras. Add a 3rd camera, I encourage you. Any camera you want and switch to it. Although, probably the dolly camera would be the most interesting. Oh, digital play mode? Yeah. There's a card as well. God, it's hard to control. I should point out there is a way to bring your camera animation, if not the same cameras, from Blender into Unity. You can take the animation as a clip and apply it to a virtual machine camera. So if you're more comfortable animating your cameras in Blender, you can brute force keyframe it in and bring it straight in. So if you look at the Dolly camera, it's just a normal camera. We haven't looked at any of the properties of it. These ones are nice. What do you think they do? Follow and look at. If you had to take an educated guess.
It's one of them. So you select like a game object, and then follow is like it's almost like it's attached to that game object,
Yeah.
so it will just track its position, and then look at is yeah, is that rotation?
Yeah. I also would have accepted it follows and it looks at. Because it does. Follows, yeah, it follows you around like a camera following you around. And look at, it's just going to point directly at it. There's also already the command transform look at, right? See. So I can say, hey, character, look at this camera, or a character. And now it's going to follow him, and it doesn't matter where I move it, it's going to happen. We don't have to be in play mode for it to enact, I should say. So I move this thing around. It's just going to keep locked on where he is, no matter my orientation. The track has other things. We can add more and more waypoints. I've only got 2 at the moment, 0 and 1. We can add more in there. Get an actual path going. Say I want to encircle this fellow. Go. Possibly. Okay, and it's switching to my main cameras because of the script. I'll just add in an extra camera. As I said, it's just another CMV cam. You can switch it in the same way. And give them all the default priority of 5. I'll add another key press. I like storing my key presses as bools. Don't know why. Just like it's neat and tidy. Key 3, alpha 3, and then I just have to say if key 3. I certainly will autocomplete. Thank you very much. Thank you, AI. Okay, 3. Oh. Oh, it is a problem. remember to put my dolly cam slot 3. Cam 3. I forgot about that. Now I've switched my dolly cam, but it's not moving. So that'll be in the track settings. I can switch from place to place. Oh, I'm wondering if I need to drive the pass position. So, to get the dolly to move, we can animate the thing just using animation. Nice and easy. Just animate this value going up and up. Or, like we did with priority, we can access the Cinemachine component and change it over time, maybe incrementally add it to grow until it gets to the end. Which do you think is easier? Animation or code? Definitely animation for anything. For anything, animation. Yeah, coding is writing code. Animation is path position. So I'll bring my dolly cam out. I'll give it high priority. So the path position is the value that changes it actually moving along the dolly track, but it doesn't happen automatically. But it is a number, and we know we can control numbers. So we could have that path position number grow between its minimum and maximum and get to the end. We might even be able to represent it as a normalized 1, 0 to 1. Or we can actually animate the path position just using the animation within Unity. Definitely the simple one, but it comes with its drawbacks as well. You're locked into keyframes, key positions, whereas the coding thing will be more reactive and dynamic. Animation, though, is easier. Always easier to animate something than to code it. Dolly Cam 1. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have the right value, but let's see. No, I can find it again. It's in Cinemachine in the script part of it, and then it goes down. CM, it's under CM, not the actual Cinemachine part. Okay, I have the right value anyway. Very fast, Ollie. Okay, so my animation is on the camera, yes? The track. No, the camera. Okay, so this is the value I went for to get to that path one. I went to add property first. then into CM. Down to tracked dolly script. Path position. That's the value I wanted. And then just, I'm only adding keyframes in that channel, like location, rotation, scale. I'm only animating that property. Okay, I'm between 0 and, what is that, 60 seconds or 60 frames. I'm just going to have it complete its entire thing. Length is 3. That's quite a fast clip. We could slow that down in the animator itself or change its actual duration here. It's just, yeah, 1. But there's my animation of the path changing. Inside of dolly track, I can loop that. Oh, it loops it in a circle. Okay. Now I could, every time I switch to the dolly cam, it enters its animation. Does this weird loop. Not a great dolly. But it's looking at him the whole time. And then I can switch back to my 2 standard static cameras and then jump back to dolly. It's going crazy. And just to point out, inside of the waypoints, where it says looped, that doesn't mean looped animation. That means it joins the loop that you've created. So it's joined waypoint 4 to waypoint 0. Unlooped, and you see it's just bouncing back and forth between these 2 things. Operation. Window. Animator. And just like any standard animation clip, we can modify its speed in the animator. Speed. So let me make that a whole lot slower. 0. Oh, it's not letting me go to 0. I'll have to leave play mode. 0.2, so now it's a fifth of the speed. Maybe a little bit fast. Let's try 0.01. That's super, super, super slow. Okay, there's normal camera 1, camera 2. Switch to that dolly cam. It's a much nicer movement. Oh, it stopped moving. Wonderful. 0.01 and it stopped, or it's so slow, I can't tell. 0.05. Ah, there we go. So just a much, much slower speed on that pan, on that dolly. So, scripting method. There's another method that's a little bit easier to use if you're familiar with things like Premiere or After Effects or any kind of timeline editor, stuff like this. They built this to work in the timeline. So, again, I've left a few details out. Let's move over and look at the timeline. If we open Window, Sequencing, and Timeline. Window, Sequencing, Timeline. We're going to use an empty game object to control our timeline object rather than assigning it to any camera or something like that. Because it becomes hard to remember which camera you assigned it to if you assigned it to a camera. Better off making a little controller object to hold this. So let's create a new game object. Cutscene controller. And then we want to create a director component and a timeline asset for this. Create. I will make a director folder. I might need to make more than one of these. And let's bring this down here. So this is the way to switch your cameras without needing to write code to switch it. So I'm going to disable my cam switcher script for this. Goodbye. And I'm only going to create all these movements on the cutscene controller, nothing else. Okay, we right click down here. We want to create a Cinemachine track. We can also handle our audio in here as well. Animation, controls. And you'll see it's looking for a Cinemachine brain. What is our Cinemachine brain? Go on, Kira. Go on, say it. Yeah, that's what he said. You did it. You did it with no help from anybody. The thing at the top, the brain. True. So a little icon cue, which I like, that they're giving you that clue. You could feasibly figure that out by yourself. So let's drop our main camera in here, our Cinemachine brain. Now we have a Cinemachine track. We can add virtual cameras to this track. I will add my first camera, VCam1, and it's going to ask me, what do I want to do? Oh no, it didn't ask me what to do. Sometimes it asks me if you want it to be a Cinemachine track or a control track with cameras, you want it to be Cinemachine. Then I add camera 2. I'll go ahead and add camera 3. And I have camera 4 and 5 somehow. How did that happen? Okay. Oh, crazy. Why is it doing that? Ah! That's why it's doing that. It's creating new shots every time for some reason. Well, because I have this checked on by default. I definitely don't want that. Can I make that setting? No, I can't make that setting. Change? Yeah. All right. Well, maybe it's on my cinema brain. Autocomplete a bit. Nope. Events? Yes, yes. That event? All right. Okay. I'll just add the first one and say stop doing that. Stop. And VCam 4, goodbye. You can just delete them. It won't mess up Cinemachine at all to delete these cameras. Back to my cutscene controller. We give it a label. Camera 2. Camera 3. Shift and mouse wheel to zoom out of this. And now I press play. It's on camera 1 until it's not. Until it's also not. Cut, cut, cut. Sorry. You know what? I don't know. Let's turn it on. I think code has dominance over animation. Yeah, that's why I turned it off. I thought it would do that. Yeah. So script will supersede. Because especially since it's running in the scene, yeah, it's going to take over. Good question, though. So, these clips can be shortened to whatever length you want. Control D is duplicates, as it is everywhere else. Control B is paste. So I can have as many quick cuts as I want. Cut back and forth between the same camera. Back, forward, camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2, 1, camera 2, etc. And then cut to our big dolly cam. And if we want some kind of transition, we just have to overlay them on top of each other. So if they start blending in, that's the amount of time it's going to transition between. So I'll make this one quite long. And then we'll transition back to virtual camera number 1 really quickly. So it's actually moving the position, the transition for that whole length. And a very quick switch back, but it's actually transitioning. And then just straight cut, straight cut. So you can do it either way. You can actually do it through code and have it switch on a timer on some events, or you can queue it all up in a timeline thing and then cut back to your main camera, your main follow camera. And then everything else, handle in this timeline as well. Add your audio tracks, add your music, if you like event audio, I assume. Oh yes, I did include a thing about switching the animation triggers as well. I just think about it for people who need to get access to that. Oh yes. And then one last thing to give you, the rule of thirds. There is a plugin for Unity that enables that kind of camera layout stuff. But we look in our aim, select any of the cameras and aim, we actually do get a little overlay to tell us about where we're aiming. But there is a plugin available for free if you want to use the rule of thirds thing. Actually line up your shots. Camera composition, totally free. Imports. All. Thank you very much. Uh-oh. there we go. I don't know. I didn't really read through his documentation. I just found it. I was like, oh, that looks good. And I was like, I thought it'd be like just work. No, I think he designed it to use in everything. I should just read the rest of the PDF, I suppose. Composition. Yeah. Game view. Turn on a grid such as rule of thirds. Yeah. I'd love to. God, Unity's so painful, isn't it? Let me go over here. Anyway, this isn't exactly educational, watching me try and figure something out in Unity. That could take quite a while. So, let's end this half of the class with a break. Let's have a break. Cup of tea, cup of coffee, bit of fresh air, whatever you need.